بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أنا الأستاذ المساعد دكتور علاء اسماعيل جلوب، المختص في علم اللغة التطبيقي وطرق تدريس اللغة الانكليزية. الآن سوف أقدم درس يخص المرحلة الثالثة وهو essay writing، وهو جانب واحد من جانب المنهج المسمى essay writing، كتابة المقالة. Now let me introduce myself. I'm an assistant prof, Dr. Alaء اسماعيل جلوب, specialized in applied linguistics, method of teaching English as a foreign language. Now I'm presenting a lesson in essay writing for the third year students in the Department of English Language, the College of Education, University of Untitled. Descriptive writing, structure and techniques. Outline of the lecture. This lecture will shed light on the following points. What is descriptive writing? How to write a descriptive essay. Elements of descriptive writing. Ways of organizing facts. Types of descriptive writing. Steps of writing the descriptive essay. The structure of the descriptive essay. Quick tips for writing the descriptive essay. And finally, sample of descriptive essay will be presented with a detailed explanation. Now let us move to the first slide. What is descriptive writing? Descriptive writing creates a picture of a person, place, things, or events. A well-written description should arouse a particular response or emotion in the reader's imagination. As it is now, descriptive essay is a process of painting, but not by using colors or pen or pencil. It is a process of painting by using words. So when we describe something, when we write a descriptive essay, we have to be so careful about the words, vocabularies, the structure that we have used. We have to portray a picture by using writing. Descriptive tells what something looks, sounds, smell, tastes, or feel like. It works with all of the senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. As it is mentioned here, when we write a descriptive essay, we have to touch all the human senses, including sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. Descriptive writing is the only type of writing which can be used in all other forms of writing. This point sheds light on the importance of descriptive writing. When we write description, we have to describe things. So it is important to master the techniques and principles of writing descriptive essay, or in general, how to write description, because it is important in other forms of writing, in other types of essay. For example, when we write expository essay, we need also to write a description. The same case for the other types of essay, for example, narrative and persuasive essay. So your goal as a writer is to describe something so well that your reader will see in his or her imagination. Good description writing includes, these are the features of descriptive essay. Should include vivid sensory details appealing to one or more of the five senses. This is often best achieved by using specific noun, active verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. A clear, consistent organization using either spatial, chronological, or thematic order. To make an imaginary world seem real, an author often makes use of words and phrases that appeal to the senses. These words and phrases are called images and help a reader mentally experience what the characters in the literary selection are actually experiencing. So good descriptive essay should include carefully selected vocabularies or word classes, including, of course, nouns, active verbs that show movements of the events and how the movements is occurred. It also include adjectives that shape the figure or the targeted behavior or the targeted objective in which we are describing, and it also include adverbs in order to show to describe the place, to describe the time of the events, and to describe the manner by using adverbs of manner to show how the events occur. Okay. How to write a descriptive essay. Before writing the descriptive essay, you have to think about 3 whys. These are what, why, and how. So for what we are going to describe, and why we are going to describe, and how we are going to describe. Let us begin with the first question. What do you want to describe? It is important step for you to know what are you describing. At the beginning of writing each descriptive essay, we have to decide the object that we are going to describe. Is it a person, a place, a memory, an experience, an object, or an event, or something else? We have to decide right from the first moment of writing a descriptive essay what we are going to describe, because later on when we move ahead, it should be all the information that should be mentioned in the descriptive essay, it should be centered in this object that we are going to describe. Any other irrelevant information outside the limits of the descriptive things will be considered irrelevant information to the descriptive essay, and consequently will disestimate the value of the descriptive essay, or the value of the information mentioned in the descriptive essay. The second question, which is important when writing a descriptive essay, is why are you writing your descriptive essay? So of course, any person, when he sees a pen or a pencil in order to write to something, there are certain goals in the writer that he need or she need to cover for the audience or for the reader. So it is important to know the reasons for our writing, why we are going to describe this object, why we are going to describe this person, and so on. Usually you have a particular reason why you need to write this descriptive essay. Getting in touch with this reason can help you focus your description and imbue your language with a particular perspective or emotion. As it is mentioned here, knowing the reasons behind our description will direct the writer to the events itself, or to the object, the object in question, which the writer wants to describe. So it will shorten the time for writing the essay and make it valuable and have a qualitative value for the writer himself and for the reader. Consequently, it will be easily understood by the reader. Example, imagine that you want to write a descriptive essay about your grandfather. So we have to choose to write about his, for example, his physical appearance, the way that he interacts with people, his strong point of view, his behavior when we deal with others, when he help others, or something like this. However, rather than providing a general description of these aspects, you want to convey your admiration for his strength, the strength point, and his kindness. This is your reason for writing the descriptive essay. So in order to achieve these reasons when writing a descriptive essay, you might focus on one of your paragraph, for example, on describing the roughness of his hands. You might also describe how he would hold your hands so gently with his rough hands when having a conversation with you or when taking a walk. Okay, this is an example concerning why do we describe a descriptive essay. How to write a descriptive essay. How should you write your description? As you write your descriptive essay, the best way to create a vivid experience for your readers is to focus on 5 senses. As is mentioned previously, we have to focus on 5 senses. These are sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. In addition, when you focus your description on the senses, you will have an opportunity to provide a vivid and specific details that show your reader and not only tell your reader about what you are describing in your descriptive essay. Now let us move to another important elements in writing a descriptive essay. This is elements of descriptive writing. Good descriptive writing is comprised of 5 elements. These are sensory details, figurative language, dominant impression, precise language, and finally careful organization of the essay. Now I'm going to shed light a detailed description of each of these elements. Let us begin with the first one, sensory details. Good description writing includes many vivid sensory details. As I told you previously, these vivid sensory details will help the writer to show a picture to the reader and not only tell him or her. It will help the reader to touch the audience 5 senses, and consequently these sensory details will paint a picture and appeals to all of the reader's senses. Okay. The second important elements of descriptive writing is figurative language, the use of figurative language. For example, like the use of simile, metaphor, and personification. So good description should include the use of figurative language because these often these help paint the picture in the reader's minds. There are many ways to use figurative language, as I told you previously. Simile, metaphor, and personification. The third element of descriptive writing is a dominant impression. This is one of the most important points to be highlighted or elements to be highlighted when writing descriptive writing. It is dominant, a dominant impression. When you plan a descriptive essay, you should create a single dominant impression, a central theme or idea to which all details relate. Okay? And this is the so-called thesis statement of the essay. When writing a thesis statement of the essay, you have to reflect your points of view, or you have to write something that give a dominant impression of the essay. In other words, it should summarize what you are going to include in describing the targeted events or the targeted object under description. This dominant impression unifies the description and gives readers an overall sense of what the person, place, or object sense looks like, and perhaps what it sounds, smells, tastes, or feels like. Sometimes, but not always, your details will support a thesis making a point about the subject you are describing. The fourth element of descriptive essay is the use of precise language. When writing a descriptive essay, we have to take care in our vocabularies that we have to use in order to convey a clear description. And we have to take care about the vocabularies that we have to use in order to paint or to portray the picture to the audience. So using specific words and phrases will help the reader see what you are describing. If a word or phrase is specific, it is exact and precise. Otherwise, the picture will be not well portrayed to the audience. In the case of using vague, general, or fuzzy language, the idea or the object we are going to describe will not be well portrayed to the audience. The final elements of descriptive writing is careful organization. And this element is important for writing any type of essay. But in the case of descriptive essay, it represents a critical challenge for the writers. So we have to take care of the ideas when presenting them or when writing them in the essay. We have to organize them well, and there are 3 types of organization when writing a descriptive essay. The first one is a chronological order depending on the times of the events we are going to describe or the object we are going to describe. And the second type is spatial organization depending on their location. And the last one is an order of importance depending on the importance of the sub-events or the objects within the main events. In this slide, I'm going to describe ways of organizing facts because it is connected in the last elements, which is careful organization of ideas. As it is mentioned in the last slide, we have to use chronological order and we have to arrange details in time order, and it is suitable for describing events. The second type of organization is spatial order. Uses locations such as top to bottom, front to back, and left to right, and it is suitable for describing a place. The last type of organization is order of importance, in which we put the most important details at the beginning or at the end of the essay in order to shed light. So when we write them, the important details at the beginning of the essay, we will inform the reader that we are going to describe these important things and the remainder of information mentioned in the essay. And when we mention the important events at the end of the essay, we will give a summary to the reader that all the information mentioned in the descriptive essay is shedding light or describing these important events. So it is order of importance is suitable for describing objects and people. Here I'm going to talk about transition words and phrases that signal description. Transition used in descriptive writing vary depending on whether you are describing a person, place, or a thing. There are some examples of transition that might be used in descriptive context. Before going to the next slide that shed light on that give examples of the transition words or transitional expression used in order to link the ideas with each other within the same paragraph, or ideas they might also be used in order to link the paragraph which each others, or the ideas with each other represented by a separate paragraph. So here are some examples of transition that might be used in descriptive context. Above, round, here, below, next to, on top of, behind, nearby, under, beside, in front, back, off, to the right, to the left, beyond, over, turning right, turning left, turning south, turning north, and so on. These transitional words and expressions should be used in order to show spatial order or direction to the audience. Now let us move to the other types of transitional expressions or transitional words. These words show order of importance. So we can use the following transitions. For example, amazingly, initially, primarily, but the most important, strikingly, best of all, equally, the most, foremost, increasingly important, the major, one reason is that, most significantly, the main, even more striking. As it is mentioned here as examples of transition that show order of importance. The majority of these transition words are used at the beginning of the sentence or should be used at the beginning of the paragraph. For example, amazingly, initially, primarily, equally, and so on. But some of them can be used at the middle of the sentence. For example, foremost, but the most important, best of all, and so on. And the other type of transition words that show order of information can be used in both cases. Might be used at the beginning of the sentence or at the beginning of the paragraph or at the middle of the sentence. The most important thing is that there should be a type of transitional expressions or words in the essay, because these transitional words and expressions will move the audience minds and heart from events to the events and will portray the sequence of events to the reader. Another type of transition words that show time order. These that show time order. For example, during, when, afterward, events, shortly, tomorrow, finally, concurrently, next, nearby, formerly, today, this morning, from then on, the front of, back of, suddenly, then, meanwhile, afternoon, at present. These transition words have the same feature of the other transitional expressions. It can be used at the beginning of the sentence, at the beginning of the paragraph, at the end of the sentence, or within the sentences. Okay? Types of descriptive writing. Description of people or places. Descriptive writing may convey description to the following aspects. The first one, description of people or places. These portray the physical appearance of a person or a place and show readers why the subject is important or special. Remembrances, and when we this aspect, we are going to capture a memorable experience the writer life, either a specific moment or a longer period of time. Observations, in which the writer describes an event the writer has witnessed. Vignettes, and in this case, the writer is going to capture a single moment in the writer's life, painting a picture by using words. Steps of writing a descriptive essay. Here are the basic steps to be followed when writing an effective descriptive essay. The first step is selecting a subject. Observation is the key to writing a good description. For example, if you are writing about a place, go to this place, write an observational notes that capture the most important and attractive events or things in this place, and later on sit and relax for a while in order to circulate the notes that you have recorded when you made an observation to these things, trying to write a sentences or maybe rough ideas concerning the aspects that you witnessed and wrote notes about them. A descriptive essay paints a picture for the reader using descriptive devices and the senses, and then create a thesis statement that informs the reader who or what you are going to describe. The second important step is select dominant details. Select only the details that support the dominant impression, your thesis statements. And here, support the dominant impression is that you have to select the important details that touch the audience 5 senses. This is what is meant by dominant impression. The third step is organize details, and here you have to sheetlize on the 3 types of organization. These are chronologically, depending on time order, or spatially from top to bottom, or from left to right, from near to the far, or depending on their importance, from the most important to the less important, and so on. The fourth step of writing a descriptive essay is that the writer should use descriptive words. Don't use vague words or generalities such as good, nice, bad, or beautiful. Be specific and use sensory descriptive words, which are represented by adjectives and adverbs. Provide sensory details that touch, smells, sounds, size, touch, and taste. Number 5, draw a logical conclusion. The conclusion may also use descriptive word. However, make certain that the conclusion is logical and relevant to the ideas described in the early stage of writing a descriptive essay. The concluding paragraph should summarize all the information mentioned in the essay, and in the case of descriptive essay, it also should include some descriptive words represented by carefully selected vocabularies, adverbs and adjectives that portray what you have mentioned or what you have described in the previous paragraphs of the essay. In this slide, I am going to sheetline the structure of the descriptive essay. Descriptive essay, like other type of essay, should include 3 important parts. These are introduction, body, and conclusion. In the introductory paragraph, the writer should capture his or her reader's attention and identify your subject. In addition to that, in the same paragraph, the introductory paragraph, the writer should provide background information to the object he is going to describe in the remainder of the essay. Then, the writer should state his or her thesis statements by mentioning a dominant impression. As I mentioned previously, dominant impression means to provide a supporting ideas that capture the audience attention, or that capture the audience 5 senses. Okay. And the second part of the descriptive essay, which is the body of the essay, we have to include 1 paragraph or more than 1 paragraph that participate or give a supporting ideas that help or participate in describing the events or the object under description. When writing these body paragraph, we have to use a variety of details, sensory, factual, or figurative. The writer should include thoughts and feelings, and he or she should arrange the details into a logical order. So we have to pay attention to these three important units. We have to use a variety of details. We have to include thoughts and feelings or sensory information, and we have to arrange the details within the separate paragraph or within the various body paragraphs in such a way that give a sequence, either a spatial sequence or time sequence or important sequence to the audience. The carefully organized paragraphs and the descriptive essay will help the reader to understand the essay easily and smoothly. Finally, the last part of the descriptive essay is conclusion, in which the writer should re-emphasize the dominant impression and should summarize the material he have discussed in the early paragraph of the essay. Here are quick tips for writing the descriptive essay. The first one is planning your descriptive essay, and when you're planning your descriptive essay, you have to decide what you are going to describe or who you are going to describe. In addition, we have to decide the reasons for writing our description. Third, we have to understand what are the particular qualities that we want to focus on in our description. The second important thing is drafting your descriptive essay. And here we have to shed light on the following important questions when writing a descriptive essay. What sight, sound, smell, taste, and texture are important for developing your description? And the second, which details can you include to ensure that your reader gain a vivid impression that impute with your emotion or perspective? The other important aspects when discussing the tips for writing the descriptive essay is revising your descriptive essay. And when we do this revision step, we have to answer the following question. Have you provided enough details and description to enable your readers to gain a complete and vivid perception? Have you left out any minor but important details? Have you used words that convey your emotion or perspective? Are there any unnecessary details in your description? Does each paragraph of your essay focus on one aspect of your description? And finally, are your paragraph ordered in the most effective way? All of these questions should be answered when writing a descriptive when we revise the first draft of our descriptive essay. Here is an example concerning the descriptive essay. In this example, all the previously mentioned elements and tips are highlighted depending on their process. So the title is Summer Escape, and this essay includes 5 paragraphs. The first one is the introductory paragraph, which says the first paragraph says the stage where the action happened, when it happened, and to whom it happens. Note descriptive word. Right from the second to the 4th paragraph, these are 3 body paragraphs in which the writer mentioned various details using carefully selected vocabularies, adjectives, adjectival phrase, adverbial phrase, and adverbs that show how the events happened in this event, in the main events, how the sub-events happened within the main event, which is Summer Escape. Finally, the conclusion paragraph, which is paragraph number 5, which the writer will use to another sense smell and uses words to indicate closing final pressed. Essay ends with strong concluding sentence. Thank you so much for your attention, and at the end it is important to mention that this is the first lecture within a series of lectures that will be presented later on within the subject essay writing. In this lecture I have presented an important information concerning descriptive essay. In the next lecture I will provide some presentation